Our movie industry is not dead, declares Shirley Frimpong-Manso in an interview that she granted on the Hits FM station. She also reiterated that we need to prioritize film, prioritize the creative arts. And moving on from Ghana to the US, Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, is 50 years old. We'll be delving into an article that was written to honor the 50th anniversary of this film, which began the whole blockbuster trend in movies. This and more right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Film Mandate. Thank you for joining me for this very particular episode where I'm bringing to you movie reviews, news, reactions, both from the African front and international scene. However, in this very episode, I'm bringing to you movie news and delving into the very first story of the day. Shirley Frimpong-Manso, one of Ghana's ace filmmaker who have been working over a 2 decade period, has declared that the film industry or the movie industry is not dead. She has weighed in this very conversation, and I'm excited about it because she has had the experience and the latitude and still working today, and indeed has stressed on the fact that the industry is not dead, but yes, it may not be at the level that we want it to be compared to what we've experienced in the past, but the argument of it being dead is not the case. And this was published in an article from an extract of an interview that was she granted on the Hits FM radio station. And the article says that our movie industry is not dead. Let's let's prioritize film, creative arts, Shirley Frimpong-Manso says. And this is written by Raphael Gate, published on June 19th, that's just yesterday. And I read, Ghanaian film director Shirley Frimpong-Manso has disputed claims that Ghana's movie industry currently has no potential to thrive as expected. She argued that the absence of local support for the industry is the main challenge. In an interview on Hits FM on June 18, 2025, Shirley highlighted the sharp contrast between Ghana's film industry and Nigeria's flourishing Nollywood industry. I don't want to hear that it's dead because it's not. People call it dead because the progress we expected over the years hasn't happened. But that doesn't mean there's no potential, she said. According to Shelley, Nigerians have deliberately invested in the industry and infrastructure development, which have played a significant role in the success of their industry. Nigerians made a decision to invest in film as an art form that creates jobs, drives businesses, and makes an impact. They made funding available, built cinemas, and expanded them. That's why they are doing better than us, she said. She further emphasized that Ghana has all the necessary components for a flourishing film industry, noting that while the nation has talented actors and storytellers, enough priority is not given to the creative arts sector. We are good storytellers. We have great actors. What's missing is that we don't place enough importance on film and the creative arts. That's where our problem lies, she said. She stated. Shelley narrated that by virtue of her being a Ghanaian filmmaker, she has earned several international opportunities, which she insists proves the influence Ghanaian cinema can have globally. A lot of the opportunities I get abroad come simply because I'm a Ghanaian filmmaker. That shows the kind of impact our films can create. The industry isn't dead. We can do much better, she maintained. She urged the private sector and the media to intensify their contributions to propel the movie industry forward. noting that the responsibility doesn't lie solely with the government. We've produced films that examine critical societal issues. The industry needs everyone, government, private investors, she added. Yeah, so indeed, it is insightful. I mean, for her to weigh in into this conversation or this whole debate is actually very much needed. And yes, I know, depending on where you stand on the issue of whether the film industry is dead or not, it may be influenced by your experience of the industry. But yes, I would say it is not dead because it is still, films are being made today. We still have pockets of the industry that is working. It may not be very functional or very well oiled for it to be running smoothly the way we want, but regardless, it is still working. I think the major challenge we have in our industry is the fact that all the necessary infrastructure that ought to be in place for us to have a very smooth running film industry doesn't exist, and therefore makes it very difficult to claim that we have a very fully functional industry. And I think even with the most developed, well oiled film industry in the West, they still have their own pockets of issues from time to time. So every industry have their challenges, but yes, ours may be very prominent in terms of its not functioning well. But regardless, I support the statement she made that our movie industry is not dead. And then she stressed on a number of things. If you watch the actual interview, she stressed on a number of issues, which indeed is something that we as a people ought to take a critical look at. And one of the things she stated is the fact that we do not really support our own as we ought to. She made emphasis on the fact that even when Ghanaian filmmakers win awards abroad, that is movie awards and even music awards, the emphasis actually doesn't really go much onto the accolades that have been achieved by the filmmakers or the creatives, and rather it is the attention is given to other peripheral issues that has nothing to do with the main award that has been brought home. And she was stressing the fact that it is about time that the media, in particular, regardless of whether it's this the traditional media or the new media as we are experiencing now on social media or the digital media, ought to promote it more. She even brought in the issue of why we need to even support our own more than even the foreign films we watch. Granted, yes, we all enjoy foreign films and others, but there is the need for us to promote our own because other nations or other countries or other filmmakers do not care much about what we produce compared to their very own. And it makes sense because even in America or even in China, whenever you even have the opportunity or should you even ever get opportunity to promote your films there in the mainstream industry, priority will be given to theirs compared to the foreign film coming in, especially when the issue of Donald Trump and tariffs came about, where they decided to, Trump declared that he would be slapping 100% tariffs on all foreign projects or on all foreign productions. The purpose or the reason for which he said that was to ensure that foreign films or their productions will be produced in America again. The majority of their films that are shot outside hopefully would be brought back to the mainland America to be shot. And this he was saying or doing with respect to making sure a lot of the foreign or production dollars actually stays within the country. And so priority, he's looking at priority being given to his films. And it may not be the best example, but granted, in Hollywood, in America, Hollywood will promote its films first before any other foreign films, or the scope at which the films will be promoted can be compared to the American films that are produced in America by Americans and for Americans. even though eventually it goes to benefit everybody who watches outside America. So the what she said made so much sense because not to throw shade at any local industry in Africa, but when it comes to Ghana in particular, a lot of the films that Ghanaians like or productions that Ghanaian likes are mostly foreign compared to our own. Compared to our own, you have and granted, yes, it's a global village where we have to enjoy all these foreign films or series from the Asia, from even West Africa and others, but we don't attach such pride and joy or passion to our own productions as compared to the other foreign ones, and that indeed sometimes hamper the progress at which our industry we are looking. I mean, how we are looking at our industry to grow, and that is a challenge. There is the need for us to love our own, promote our own, be create the fervor of our own. As it stands now, we would like talking about the current trend of movies from other industries, but what about our own? And all the trend and fervor that we see about other people's films. Yes, it may be good, and that's why that may account for the reason why these films are being hailed from the different quarters of the world. However, all this were made possible because people spoke about it. People from other nations spoke about so much about that particular films or series that is trending, and same ought to be done with ours if we want to see it trend on the global scale that we want. Yes, it may not be the best of productions, it may not be the best of series that we may have, but it is still our own, and we need to lend some form of support to it. If it means going to the cinemas to watch it, it should be done. If it means going to the YouTube platforms to watch same and talk about them, it ought to be done. If it means having platforms like what I have now to talk about these films, to talk about these filmmakers or these TV producers, we need to do so to bring it more into the limelight of Ghana, Africa, and the world. And indeed, she also made emphasis of, I mean, let me just say this. Indeed, she what she said makes sense, because if you do not appreciate your own, don't expect others to appreciate yours for you. It's not going to happen. The industry, the number of films being produced worldwide in different film industries is on a very massive scale, and they will not stop at theirs to promote yours. They will never stop at theirs to promote yours. Let's enjoy all the foreign films we want. Let's enjoy the series we want, but let's prioritize. We need to prioritize, and one of the ways we can also prioritize is to understand that, just as he said, the 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 industry for the industry to work doesn't lie solely on government. There is the need for private investors, and yes, private investors means that money is needed to be pumped into the industry to help bring about infrastructure as needed. As I've always said on this very platform, the three factors that are needed mostly to help the industry to thrive, regardless of whichever industry. But in this regard, as I'm speaking, the film industry is to have data, is to have infrastructure, and to have policies made. So, meaning that if we take a look at these three structures, yes, these three factors, the policy definitely will go to government, but sometimes even the private people have to push for these policies to be implemented. So, it's still a public-private partnership that ought to be done. And then when it comes to putting infrastructure in place, everyone can make that happen, not just government. Because if you look at one example of the infrastructure that is needed heavily in the film industry, you're talking about cinemas. Government only owns about two cinemas, if I'm not mistaken. We have the Snap Cinema in on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly lot in Accra, and then I think there is one more in Kumasi. Beyond that, I don't think there's any existing cinemas that belongs to government. The rest are private owned, from the global cinema, is a global cinema, to the Silverbed cinemas and the others. They are all owned by private hands. But a lot more can be done, perhaps. And I understand why perhaps a lot of private investors wouldn't want to venture into such a business, because you don't have they don't yield the necessary money that they ought to from these cinemas, as a lot of people, as the cinema going culture doesn't really exist and favor that kind of business. But that can be made possible if individuals like us who are at homes at some leisure times. I mean, I would sometimes during because of the economic hardship, some the masses will not be able to make it a regular habit of going to watch them in the cinemas. But if once in a while you can have the opportunity to go to the cinemas to watch these films, it will go a long way to support these filmmakers. We go to musical concerts and all others, fanfare. And yes, we are not, nobody's saying that you shouldn't do so, but then it will go a long way where once in a while you have this opportunity to go to the cinema to support a filmmaker by buying a ticket. I mean, watch the YouTubes and everything, but let's also develop the cinema going culture to help build the industry. And what she has said indeed makes sense so much that if you are in the industry, you understand her point of view, you understand how stressful it is when a lot of attention is given to outside filmmakers, and the the native filmmakers are ignored, and that is a challenge. And I yes, we may not have the best of filmmakers, we may not have the best of actors and all that, but that is what we have. And gradually, a lot of them are improving so massively. A lot of them are doing such great works, and the fact is that we've had these filmmakers from the past. We've had the Kwawanses and the King Ampels, the Chris Hesseys, the Mr. Ernesta Bequis, and all these people are fantastic filmmakers who can rub shoulders even with the Spielbergs and the Scorseses. But unfortunately, they are not even heard. They are not even heard. We have the new current crop of filmmakers who are also doing very well. But most of these things, they are perhaps their name and fame is not traveling worldwide because we've not given it the necessary attention and push from our own soil, from Africa to the world. And that is one thing we ought to start doing. And that's why I personally always advocate for a united continental market, so that if when a film is produced in Ghana, it will not only stay in Ghana, but it will travel in the cinemas on the continent, and before even the digital media or platforms. So there's a lot that ought to be done. Yes, the industry may not be as booming or functional like the way we want it to be, but it is still the industry we have, and we have to make the best of it. So yeah, this sums up my first story of the day, and indeed, I agree with Shelley on the issue that our industry is not dead. It's definitely not dead. And moving on from an alien industry to a movie or one industry that has been functional over the years, over a century. I think as it stands now, movie is in its 125 years this year. And one industry that has produced one of the greatest movies of all time is, Hollywood. And the movie here is Jaws. And Jaws is celebrating its 50th anniversary, made by none other than the 78-year-old American filmmaker that is Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg. And this is an article that was written in regards to the 50th anniversary celebration. I thought I would read it and share a bit about it. But before the this Jaws film was produced in the year 1975, and not only that, but the term blockbuster prior to this film didn't exist. The summer blockbuster didn't exist. It was just films as it is. But these films changed the trajectory or the whole trend of movies by being the first to actually break such box office revenues, and brought about the term blockbuster. This was the very film that made it possible, or that made it so. And it was made by Steven Spielberg. let's read a little bit about the article. It's quite a lengthy one. I hope I can go through all. It shares a little bit about the trivias and stuff in it. But regardless, it's been a while since I watched it. I don't actually even remember most of the scenes because I watched it when I was a kid. But let's take this opportunity to go through it. So this was published on the U.S. News, and then it says that think you know Jaws. Test your knowledge with this trivia ahead of the movie's 50th anniversary. And this was written or published by the Associated Press. Yeah, so that's a shark in your shot. So let me read. Friday marks, that is actually today. If you're talking about Friday, you're talking about today. So today actually marks the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And that's why I wanted to actually even do a cover on it. So Friday marks the 50th anniversary of Jaws. It remains one of the most beloved and watched movies of all time. But how good is your knowledge of some of the law surrounding Steven Spielberg's 1975 masterpiece? So let's read. What was the nickname of given to the shark? For those who have watched it, you know that the main villain or the antagonist of the entire movie was a shark or sharks. So Spielberg named his mechanical shark Bruce after his attorney Bruce Rama or Rama. And where did the title come from? So this is just giving us more knowledge about the film, and it's quite exciting. So when author Benchley's 1974 book was going to print, he needed to choose a title. He has juggled various titles: Leviathan Rising, Silent Fall, before at the last minute choosing Jaws. What did it mean? Benkley himself wasn't sure. He told his editor, but it was short. Pardon me. What's the origin of the iconic movie poster? The image of the rising shark came from the cover of the novel's paperback edition, illustrated by Roger Castell for his painting. Castell went to the American Museum of Natural History to photograph a great white shark from a diorama that was laying on an easel. What was the inspiration for Amity? Though Spielberg shot Jaws on Martha's Vineyard off Cape Cod, it was the neighboring island, Nantucket, that inspired Benkley's novel. He has spent time fishing there with his father in the book. The fictional Amity is on the south shore of Long Island. Who was first attached to direct Jaws? Dick Richards was initially in line to direct the film, but producer Richard D. Zanuck and said he lost the job after, in a meeting, repeatedly referring to the shark as a whale. How old was Spielberg? So Spielberg was 26 years old when he shot this film, and then who sought but was turned down the role of Brody. Okay, so Charles Heston. And so for those who know Charles Heston starred in the Ten Commandments way back, the Ten Commandments, the story about Moses, the biblical story of Moses. That's Charlton Heston. So he wanted to play the Amity Island police chief, but Spielberg instead cast Roy Scheider. And then, yeah, so there's a lot going on there. I'll leave the article there in the description below so that you can, refresh your mind if you happen to be a fan of the Jaws movie, and you can, refresh your mind. If you also get opportunity to watch it, you should. But just a little bit about the film Jaws itself. It is actually a thriller, and prior to the time of its release, it was. I mean, films have been making it big on the block and on the box office scene, regardless, and all, and it's been doing good. But then Jaws brought about a redefinition of what it means to actually go to cinema during the summer season, and it broke so many. It made such an impact on a level that has never been made before. for a $9 million budget film, Jaws made $476.5 million. I'm sure it would include re-releases in the cinemas and all, but that is how big of a movie this film became. From just a $9 million budget, it made $476.5 million, and that is the definition of a blockbuster. You know, it made it so big that it changed the whole summer season, where even movies placed within that particular season is expected to make such big, you know, big big presence on the box office, charts. So it is indeed a powerful film and changed even the career of Spielberg. And this happened to be the fourth film he made, when he actually became a full-fledged filmmaker. This actually is the fourth film he made, after, he has actually dipped himself entirely into the film industry. So Jaws actually indeed has redefined how film were perceived during the summer season, and it is indeed has been good for as a result of that. Yeah. So if you get opportunity, go and watch the film, Jaws. It is indeed a powerful film, a film that indeed redefines cinema, in the long term. And congratulations to Spielberg and the 50th anniversary of his film Jaws, So, and I mean, if you care to know, the shark in the film is animatronics. It's more robotic controlled. It's not an actual shark, but the way and manner he shot it made it look so real and so scary, and actually brought people's attention to the fact that when you go to the beach, be careful and watch out for sharks, particularly the great white sharks, which indeed has caused a lot of havoc in certain places, or countries in the world where most of their sea or shoreline is infested with shark. And it brought about the understanding, or brought about even a new an attention to this animal, and people ought to be careful when they were swimming and all that. Yeah, so indeed, this film has made a great impact and changed a lot of things in the film industry, and it is indeed exciting that it is still going strong even after 50 years 50 years that it was released some time back. So 1975 was when it was released, and it is actually 50 years today. So take the opportunity to watch yours when you get a chance. Do so, and then let me know your thoughts, and in the comment section below. So moving on, today being a Friday, I know you have a lot of things to do over the weekend, and I'm sure and hope that going to the cinema is also included in those plans. So beginning from the Silverbird Cinema, let's see what films are being shown today. So we have Sitari Zamin Par, which is an Indian movie. Yeah, it is showing today at 9 p.m. Starting from today, showing at 9 p.m. So you can go and take a look at it or watch it in the cinema. And Elio, the Disney Pixar animated film, is also premiering, actually showing today at 10 a.m. So you can go to the cinemas and watch it. Other films also showing today is Bride Hard, an action comedy film, starring, I think, Rebel Wilson, and also 28 years later is also showing today. It's a sequel to the 28 days later, a sequel to that film. And also, a movie released last week, which is an adaptation from the animation, is How to Train Your Dragon, and it's still in the cinemas today. Materialist as well also premiered last week and in the cinemas as well. From the world of Ballerina, which premiered about 2 weeks ago, it's from the world of John Wick. Ballerina premiered about 2 weeks ago and still in the cinemas, and we also have Red Circle as well in the cinemas. So You can go to the Silverbird at Accra Mall or the West Hills, and I'm sure perhaps also in Nigeria, the Silverbird cinemas will be showing all these films as well. Yeah, so you can go and watch them for entertainment this weekend. And let's also go to the international scene and check some movies that are showing today. And we'll get that from the Rotten Tomatoes website. And then showing or screening today as well, again, is the 28 Years Later. Also, Elio, the Disney Pixar animation film, and then Bride Hard is the comedy is also showing. And today being the 50th anniversary of Jaws, it's been re-released into the cinemas. So in wherever you may be around the world that you have the opportunity to watch it, this is a great time to watch. And I'm sure it's also on a digital streaming platform, but it is even much better to watch it on the big screen because the jump scares are really big when the sharks are even bigger with all the sound and everything. It's such an immersive experience when you go into the cinema and everything but the movie is becomes your focus. So take the opportunity to go and watch Jaws in the cinema, especially today for it being the 50th anniversary of the movie. And also you have Everything is Going to Be Great releasing today. A lot of films are opening today. We have Inside, uh, Alma and the Wolf, K-pop Demon Hunters, we have Animal, and Don't Tell Larry, all releasing today. There are so many other films that are also releasing today that you can go to the cinemas and watch wherever you may be around the world if it happens to be shown. So I'll leave this. I'll also leave a link to this in the description below if you want to go and take a look at it further and know which film you would like to watch. So yeah, this brings me to an end of this particular episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for joining me. But also, if you have any thoughts whatsoever, you can leave them in the comment section below. And on my next appearance with the film mandates, I'll read them out to everyone who will be watching them. So thank you once again for joining me for this week's episodes of the Film Mandates. I'll be coming your way again next week on Monday with more exciting episodes or stories over the weekend. I'm Papa O2, and I'll see you soon.